Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to walk you through my very simple and easy detailed process of how I created this beautiful pink halo eyes on my client, and this was actually done for a carnival fete in Trinidad during the carnival season. So, firstly, with everything that I do, when it comes to makeup, I usually always start off with the eyebrows first. And here you're gonna see me trimming down her eyebrows just a bit, taking off any fine hairs that I am seeing or that can be visible during the makeup process. And what she informed me, now I always ask my clients before doing this. I ask them if they either wax, shave, or pluck their eyebrows, because sometimes those that wax prefer to continue waxing and not let us remove strangling hairs that are growing back. The next step that I'm doing is actually filling in her brows, and I'm using a brown eyebrow pencil from the brand Beauty Treats, and I got this at my local beauty supply store called Pennywise. And I'm just lightly filling in those spaces of her eyebrows that might look a bit spacey or doesn't have sufficient hair growing from that particular area. So once I get that desired shape that I like, I then move on to the other eyebrow. The next thing we're gonna move on to is cleaning up the eyebrows. Before you clean up your eyebrows, I always tend to go in with a mascara wand or a spoolie and just brush through those eyebrow hairs to make sure that the pencil or what we just drew on or filled in looks seamless throughout the entire eyebrow process. So now here we're going in with some foundation, and in all of my previous videos I would have mentioned that I do not use concealer. However, I do use lighter shades or darker shades of foundation to get the desired look that I want. So today, because we are going with a very bright color, I did use a lighter, very much lighter shade of foundation to clean up and carve out her brows, and this is going to be our eyeshadow base also for when it's time to put on that eyeshadow. And here you're gonna just see me buffing it out, and the remainder of that foundation I'm gonna bring down on the rest of her eyelid, and this is going to create a very nice seamless base for our eyeshadow. And for this makeup look, I am using the Maybelline Super Stay foundation. I am using it in various different shades so as to get her desired look. So once we've got the first eyebrow down back and we are happy with the shape, we did move on to the second eyebrow, and we are repeating the same steps that we did in the first one. I am using a very small concealer brush to ensure that I get in all the angles that I'm looking for, to ensure a clean carve out of the brows, because sometimes what we tend to notice is the first thing we notice on someone is their eyebrows. An eyebrow look can make or break your entire makeup look. And like I mentioned previously, this is also going to be our eyeshadow base. If you like to use white eyeshadow bases, that's also fine and optional. If you also like to use concealer, that's optional as well. However, for my process, because I like a very natural looking finish on the skin, I tend to use different shades of foundation to achieve my makeup looks. And I'm simply using a small concealer brush to just buff out and blend that eyeshadow base throughout the entire eye base so that it covers the entire perimeter of the eyes. For this makeup look, I did use the Stacey Marie Carnival Extra Large palette. This palette is so versatile that you can create fun, vibrant looks, and you can also create very warm, earthy, natural looks with this base. So I love this eyeshadow palette so much, so I am using it to create today's eyeshadow look. And I did go in with a purple, a deep purple first, and I know I said it's a pink eyeshadow look, but hear me out. The purple is going to act as a very deep base for when it's time to apply that pink to allow it to pop even more. So I am going to apply that purple in the inner corner of the eye as well as the outer corner of the eye, and I'm creating that halo effect on the eye with the darker shades first. So normally we would usually start with the outer corner. However, for a halo eye, you would usually start on the inner corner and the outer corner of the eyes, however, much more down on the lid versus up in the eye creases. Once you have placed your eyeshadow color, that first color, and that first color is our transition color, that is going to pave the way for our pop of color, which is our main color, the pink. So here I'm applying that pink on top of that purple, and you can already see on the outer corner that that pink would have popped so well using the purple as a base. Because I wanted a very intense look, I went in with the purple eyeshadow to enhance that pink eyeshadow afterwards. Notice that I'm applying the eyeshadow in like a stippling motion, and this is to ensure that all the product is also deposited onto the eyelid and not fall off of her eyelid. So you want to ensure that your technique of applying that eyeshadow is a patting or a stippling motion using a very dense, small eyeshadow brush. When you use a small eyeshadow brush, you are able to control where the placement of that eyeshadow goes versus a very fluffy brush. You will use the fluffy brush, however, later on to help blend out those colors. But in terms of placing those colors right where you need them to be placed, you want to use a small, dense eyeshadow brush for that. And I am going in with a transition color here, and my transition color of choice was a very light peachy color, and this is to ensure that that pink and that purple transitions well into each other and they don't look like they were just placed or rest on the eye, but rather you get a sort of faded look into all three colors. So I am going in with that peachy color on the top layer of the eyes, and this is, like I said, our transition color. You can actually feel free to do this first, but because I like a very detailed halo eye look, I tend to place the eyeshadows first in the area of creating that halo look before going in with my transition shade. And you just want to go ahead and repeat those same processes on the other eye once you have gotten the desired pigment that you are looking for. So now we are dealing with that center, which is actually the halo part of the look. And I did go in with a very light pink eyeshadow look, because what we tend to look for in a halo eye is the center eye mask of that eye lid is the part that is gonna look very light versus the inner corner, then the middle. With halo eyes, the center of the eyelid is the one that is in total focus. So I am going in with a light, very, very pastel color pink on top in the middle there. And you can see that the purple would have added a really nice transition for that entire look. And on top of that, I did go in with a very light pink shimmer shade on top of that pink, and that is going to make way for our glitter that we're going to add later on. You can also feel free, let me make mention of this, to apply your shimmer shades with your finger. They also apply really nicely. However, because I like total control of where my product goes, I tend to use very tiny brushes to achieve the look that I want. So here I am just going to add a black wing liner to her look. This, I always add liner first before adding glitter, because what tends to happen with the chunky glitter or even with the fine glitter, when you add the glitter first and then the liner looks bumpy. So because I like a very smooth and natural looking liner, I tend to apply the liner first and then apply the chunky glitter or the fine glitter above that liner. We are not adding it on top of the liner. And I am using a no name brand eyeliner. Normally I would use the Inglot number 77, however it was out of stock, so I could not use that. However, with this no brand eyeliner that I got from my beauty supply store, trust and believe it lasted me very long. Not to also mention that it was waterproof, so it did the job absolutely amazing. So now that our liner is finished, this is our look with the liner on. And here you're gonna see me applying that chunky glitter. Now, again, this look was for Carnival Fete. If you feel free to opt out of the glitter, that's fine. You can just use the shimmer shades. But here's how I apply my chunky glitter. I like to use clear eyelash glue as my adhesive to hold that glitter, because it tends to hold the glitter much more than glitter glue. So I apply the glue first to my desired area on the eyes where I want to apply that glitter, and then I apply the glitter on top of it. Applying the glue first gives me control of where I want that glitter placement to be. So as you could see, I'm just applying that glitter to the center mask of the halo eyes, just as we said where we want the attention to be, which is in the center of the eyes, not the corners and not the outer edges. So we want that focus to be on the center of the eyes. And then we add lashes to this look to pop it even more. Moving along to her face base. Now that we have completed her eyes, it's time to get into the face. And because this is for a Carnival Fete, you want to take extra precaution, because we were in a very dry and hot time, so which means my client will sweat a lot more, especially in her T-zone, and she's gonna be in a humid environment where there's gonna be a lot of people, so we don't want that makeup shifting or moving whatsoever. So I ensure that her face is properly well primed. She did come with her face already with her creams, so she opted out of using any cream bases that I usually put on to prep the face. So here I am prepping the face with a mattifying primer, and this is to ensure longevity of that foundation base. And you would notice that I'm applying it in her T-zone area. So I applied that mattifying primer to the sides of her cheek, her nose, and her forehead, as well as underneath her mouth area, because those are the areas that tend to sweat a lot or gather sweat buildup or has the most sweat glands, and it can entirely separate your makeup if you don't set it properly. You would notice that I did apply a lighter shade of foundation. Last time she came for her appointment, this was the mixture that I mixed. However, because she is in the sun consistently, her shade changed. And unfortunately, I did not notice that. However, this is how I rectified it. I did go in with the shade Mocha in the Maybelline Superstay foundation, and that blended so seamless onto her skin. As you could see here, when I apply that foundation, I am going in a stippling motion, or sort of like a pattern motion, to ensure that that foundation really gets into her skin and the foundation sort of becomes one with her skin texture, so that at the end of it, her entire skin still remains or retains that skin texture. And I'm using that same dark mocha foundation as to clean up above the brows. You're not gonna see me using that light shade because we don't want like a cast or a box around her eyebrows. We want the eyebrows or the forehead to look very seamless. So I am going in with my small concealer brush to blend out that foundation in the forehead area, because it isn't a very big mass space. So we want to ensure that we don't get foundation on her eyebrows or on her hair. So I use a smaller brush to ensure control. And here we are doing the next side of her face. And we're just gonna blend out that foundation all the way on her cheek. Next, we're moving on to highlighting her face, and I did use one shade lighter than her skin complexion now, because like I said, she was a bit much more toasted this time around. And we are highlighting, which is bringing awareness to the center of the face, which is going to be where everyone sees first. So the areas that we're highlighting is the forehead, down the nose bridge, the cupid's bone, and underneath the chin area, as well as not forgetting underneath those eye area, because the eyes are where most people are going to be staring into, and we want that area to be bright and vibrant for someone to look into and admire that makeup. Once we have gotten the highlight down, we just want to blend it out with that small concealer brush, and then the outer corners of that makeup look that has been blended, you then want to go ahead and take your foundation brush, and you're not applying additional foundation. You are just leaving what the product that is on the brush currently, you are leaving that on, and you are just blending it out so that everything looks seamless on the skin and not like it was just placed in areas. So we're just going to also be blending underneath that eyes, and you could see me carefully blending the outer ends of the makeup look or of the highlight with that foundation brush after going in with the small concealer brush. And the small concealer brush just allows for basic control of the placement, or where we choose to keep the placement of the makeup. And I don't use cream contours, so I do use powders to contour and set the face. So I am going in under her eyes with the Sasha Buttercup in the shade Light, and I am setting that under eye and all those additional areas that we just highlighted before moving on to contouring her face. So you're going to see me applying that loose setting powder all over her entire face in the areas that we would have just highlighted. And while she's baking, I did go in under the eyes with that dark pink that we applied on the top part of her eyes, as well as the purple. So when you are, and I'm using the Juvia's Place palette for this one because I found that the pinks for under the eyes was much more intense than what I placed on top the eyes. So I did go in with that pink first, then the purple to create a sort of dark transition underneath the eyes to open up the eyes and make the eyes look much bigger than it appears to be. The illusion of makeup. Now you're gonna see me contouring her face, and I did use 2 to 3 shades darker because for contour we are creating shadows and bringing back those definition lines or areas of the face. So that is what contour does. So you are gonna see me going in with contouring her cheekbone, the jawline, and the perimeters of her forehead, as well as down the nose, the side of the nose bridge. So we would have highlighted the middle of the nose bridge, but for contouring, we are sculpting the outer corner of the nose to create a shadow and to create shape and definition to the face. So that is what contouring essentially does. It brings back shadow, color, and balance to the skin, because what tends to happen is when we highlight, the face can look way lighter, especially if you don't contour the face. You can look like your foundation is much lighter, or the makeup that you're wearing is much lighter than your skin complexion, without adding back in those shadows in the face. Because what tends to happen is that when we apply one shade of foundation together with just the highlights, it tends to flatten the face and make our face look round. However, when you apply contour to the face, whether you choose to apply it as a cream contour or powder contour, it brings back definition to the face. And I'm also applying blush because we wanted this to be a really girly look. She don't usually wear bright shades of blush, but we opted for a nice bright orange blush this time around, and we are just adding that blush to the apples of her cheek, or just right above where we would have made that contour placement earlier on. You can choose to ask your client to smile. However, you don't have to do that. I'm also applying that shimmer highlight that is just going to accentuate and vibrantly brighten up her entire makeup look once it comes together. Once you have done that, you can go ahead and dust off that additional setting powder that we no longer need on the face anymore. So I'm just dusting it off, and you can see that her face you can see the sculpt of her face with that definition when it comes to that contour placement. You are seeing that highlighted area where it draws and brings attention to the eye area, or to the center mass of her face, where you are looking at this person and you feel pleasant enough to talk to this person, or this person looks pleasant enough to talk to, or you just choose to just admire them, admire their makeup, admire their face, right? you are finished, I tend to do this later on, but you can do this as soon as you're finished with the eye area. You want to go in and also ensure that you apply mascara to blend out the falsely eyelashes or eyelash strip that we have on with the natural eyelashes, and this is going to create that oneness or that togetherness with the eyelash strip, as well as for added dramatical effect underneath when you apply mascara on the bottom lash line. Ooh, it takes your makeup look to the next level. It just pops out the eye way more. And for lips now, we did go with a natural lip. I always tend to always tend to draw or sculpt my clients' lips with a brown lip liner, and this is a brown shade within their complexion, or that will complement their complexion. So I am not using too much of a dark shade of brown to look like black. It still looks light brown, like it is her shade or what her outer lip filler would look like. And we did go with a very subtle light pink lip color, and this is what she chose. This is what she wanted, because she wanted the focus to be on the eyes and not too much on the lips. So we did go in with a very light peachy pink color for the center of the lip, and I tend to like to just go in with some powders, and this is actually my secret. If you don't have brown lip liners but you do have brown eyeshadow colors, you can use eyeshadows as your lip liners or even as your lipsticks, and they will mesh very well. You just need to apply just a little bit of concealer or foundation to the lip area to hold that eyeshadow base or that eyeshadow color just as we would the eyes, and you are good to go. So you actually can create a lot of beautiful lip combos using eyeshadow as your lip colors. That is if you prefer a matte finish, because you are going to get a matte end result. And to pop off that entire look, I am just adding a sort of lighter shade of eyeshadow to the tear duct, and you could just see how this popped this look so much more. And to top off the look, we are spraying. I do use rose water first before going in with my setting spray, and I just like two different layers of protection, one a hydrating protection, and one that would ensure longevity of our makeup. So these setting sprays are going to help melt that makeup into the skin and make the makeup look as though it has always been on your face or it's coming out of your face, and not look like you are a completely different person. So this is the final look here. And y'all don't come for me with my fan. But she absolutely loved this pop of color that she got. She's usually very a neutral tone girly, but she loved this look. You can see the reaction on her face. She absolutely loved this, and I loved creating this because I have not created a halo eyes in a very long time. So it was such a pleasure doing this makeup look. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know what other types of tutorials you all are interested in, and I will be sure to post them to my pages as we go along. So thank you all so very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe for much more makeup content. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.